So let's take a look at the levels tool. So just like all your other tools, you're going to come up here to colors. Levels is partway down the list, and you'll get this window. So there's a lot going on in this window because this is a pretty powerful tool. It can pretty much fix everything that any of the other tools that you're learning about in this activity. It can pretty much do all of that. It does have a steeper learning curve to it, so bear with it. There's some basic things we'll do, and I can show you some more advanced. So let's break the window down for a minute. The first thing that we need to look at is value. So the channel that you're looking at, value is looking at the whole image. If I click on that, because this is an RGB JPEG file, it will break your values into red, green, and blue. If I click on red, it is only going to look at the reds in anything with a red value in it. So it'll only adjust those. Same thing if I adjust to green or I adjust to blue. The next thing that we need to look at is this histogram. This is a super valuable tool because it is graphing out where all of the pixels in the entire image fall on a value scale from really dark black to really white. And then these are the areas in between. So when you're reading this graph right now, here's our center gray point, but you'll notice the majority of the pixels are to the darker side of that. What that tells me is I know automatically just reading the graph, this image is probably just a little too dark. You also notice there's really not a lot in the white end. Okay, but there's a lot more down here in the black. So that histogram is a really easy tool to look at and almost instantly be able to tell, oh, my picture needs to be shifted to I need to lighten it, so I need to condense the value scale to the dark side. Underneath here, you have your three little sliders. The black one, if you move that, that will move where the point that black will be. So it's saying that if I move it there, this is the darkest. Everything from here to the left is going to just be all black. If I do the same thing from the white, it's now saying this is my absolute white. Anything that's on that side will only be white. It won't try and differentiate those colors. And then if I move my mid-tone one, I can lighten or darken the image by moving that. And basically what's happening is if I move it to this side, it's getting darker because I'm expanding the dark side of my grayscale. If I move it this way, it's going to get lighter because now I'm expanding the amount of the light side of that. When you're using your tools, like I forgot to mention at the beginning, but preview, so you can see what's going on. If you get lost or like I've just made a whole bunch of changes I don't want, remember their reset button is there. Output levels is actually going to adjust the brightness and darkness of your image. So think of the output levels as your brightness or darkness slider or brightness slider. So if I slide that, it's going to lighten the image. If I bring it this way, and condense that, it will darken the image. So that's only for your outputs. That's really a last step that you're going to do. We're not going to worry about any of the eyedropper tools here or editing as curves. If you really want to learn about curves, you can look up videos online to edit in curves. Curves gives you a little bit more control, precise control across the entire value scale, but it's not something that we as beginners need to worry about. So as you're looking at your image, if I read my histogram, like I said at the beginning of this video, I really don't have a lot that's in the white range. So I'm going to click on the white and I'm going to actually bring it here until the first part of the graph starts to move up. Okay, so you'll notice the image lightened up because I shortened the value scale. So now I'm saying white is here, so it's going to lighten the image. Again, I have this big hump. So if I start to move that slider to the middle of this curve, right, that's going to give me more of a balanced image. So when I'm unpreviewing it, it's darker there. Now it's a little bit lighter. Again, you'll notice, like with other tools, a lot of the time these may be subtle things. Your goal as a photographer is to get your camera to do all of the work, so you have less to do here. So I've made my adjustments there, and then I can go ahead and save it because I really don't. The color balance isn't weird. If I was dealing with a image that was a color balance issue, if it was really, let's say we're dealing with it's really blue. So I might end up adjusting just the blue a little, and you'll notice I shortened that value scale, and I'm now throwing a ton of light blue, and it will give a blue cast. Okay. You could technically go through and adjust all three channels, but you are better off if it's not a color correction issue, just using your value scale. Make those quick adjustments there, and then you're good to go.